now we're going to talk about Larry. Larry Edgar.
Larry Edgar, of course, shares my last name, and Rosemary and Larry were in the same class, but of course they weren't related.
Not in the 6th grade, they weren't in the same class.
Well,
Oh, the same class.
same grade.
The same grade.
Same grade.
Right. Shut up, Paul.
And Larry,
Who's on your lap?
Willie, is sitting on my lap, and he likes me.
Okay, I know it. Okay,
He really does.
So
like
anyway,
me.
Larry's mother.
Larry's mother worked at the Morning Sun. And
I think at that time it was called the Alma Record.
yes, it was. She worked there, and I guess, I don't know whether my sister-in-law worked there at the same time. Anyway, I knew his mother, and of course he was an Edgar. And here again was a bright young man who I really enjoyed. And he was mischievous, and he was, as this group of boys right here, they were good athletes. They were bright. They were fun. And I'm not going to tell you a story about when he was in the 6th grade, but I'm going to tell you a story that happened about 3 or 4 years ago. And I was at the Elks with a friend, and I'm visiting, and I looked over, and the waitress was talking to this fellow, and they were looking in my direction. I had gone over and gotten salad and came back, and it was obvious to me that they were talking about me because I had moved back from one place to the other. And at that point, this young man came over, and he said,
Willie!
He said, "Are you Mrs. Edgar?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And I said, Who are you?" And he said, "I'm Larry Edgar." Larry's hair was gray, and it was long, and it was tied in the back, I think, with probably an elastic around it. And I said, "Okay, tell me about yourself." And in the next, 2 or 3 minutes, he filled me in on everything. Told me how many times he'd been married twice, and he was in a live-in relationship. I don't know that he told me anything. I don't think he had children. He didn't. At least that didn't come through. And he was maybe living out in the Edmore area. He had worked at the Party Store out on Wright Avenue near Big Boy. I can't think of the name of it.
I can't either.
But
I remember that.
But he worked there for a long time. Then he left there and he worked over, I think, in Edmore at a manufacturing place. And his brother's name was Mike, and Mike had a problem as far as his vision, and so he probably was, I don't know if he was totally blind, but he was pretty much blind.
His brother, Mike.
Yeah, his brother Mike. And I think his brother lived down in the Detroit area. Now, of course, Larry's mother was gone. I knew that she'd been gone for a long time. And his mother, his parents were divorced, and his dad had remarried. And so Mike lived down near his stepmother. And it sounded as though both Larry and Mike had a good relationship with the stepmother, and that she was interested in how Mike was doing, And Larry was interested in how Mike was doing. You could tell there was a real close connection there as far as
Well,
his...
they were brothers.
Yes, they were. But you know, some brothers aren't really brothers. They go separate ways. But this one, you know, showed real concern for how he was.
So how was Larry as a student of yours?
He was a good student. I don't know that he ever worked at it very hard. You know, he was certainly as bright as anybody in the classroom, but I don't know what happened when he was in high school, whether anybody encouraged him to, you know, go on and do anything else or not, because maybe there wasn't any, you know, maybe his mother was having enough to do to, he probably had to figure out and do his own thing about, say, maybe getting extra schooling and going on and doing something, because he would have been, but I was just so delighted to see him that night. It was just, and, you know, we were right back again, you know, when he told me who he was, why, and I said, well, do you come here very often? Well, he said, oh yeah, I do. Well, of course, he was there on a weeknight when I would be there, but probably ordinarily he was either there on a Friday or a Saturday. And of course, I didn't go to the Elks that much anyway. But delightful guy.
I was on the tennis team with him.
Okay.
And we played together in the 10th grade. And then in the 11th grade, Mr. Sweeney kicked me off the team for acting up. And on the 12th, and then when I came back in the 12th grade, I was on the team with him again. So that's a little story about me missing my junior year in tennis, because that's a whole other story.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, you know, if you're coaching,
I was like a John McEnroe back then. I just...
you got mad and threw your tennis, or threw your racket? Or...
Yeah, I got mad and, well, I tossed it. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it.
Okay.
And that gave Mr. Sweeney an excuse to kick me off the team.
I would have thought that he could have handled that better than that.